Bow, bow. Everybody, welcome to the show. Bam, bam. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to Stream Street Day 129, and thanks for starting the show off, the Dreadwoods, by donating a gift subscription in the chat. Hello, Chris Seaton in the chat. My big and heartfelt love to Stahl in the chat. I hope you're well, buddy. Yes, hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to Stream Street Day 129, the party time and paint session. Where we're going to hang out and just talk while I paint some Death Guard. So that's the show today. Had a wonderful guest on, Neil, yesterday. Got an amazing guest on Sunday. That's right. Got Jesper, one of the Swedish Age of Sigmar players. So very much looking forward to him. And I've also interestingly seen Jesper's balls. So there you go. Now, hello everyone, welcome to the show. Thank you to everyone that's watching on Patreon. Obviously, thank you to everyone on the podcast. Please stay hydrated, drink well, and drink heartily. Here's to you all. I'm going to sup one. Thank you to everyone on Patreon. Jay Steers, thanks for following. Anyway, thanks all. Hey Draconda, hope you're well. Hello everyone. Colonel Cabbage, I see you as well. Yeah, man, let's all drink that water and stay hydrated. I tell you a little bit, like since the coffee shops have reopened, I haven't been drinking enough water, and I've been getting the occasional decaf latte. Not every day, obviously, because they're £1 billion. But I've had a couple of coffees, and I've really enjoyed it. Anyway, so today I'm gonna just be upfront with you guys. I've been really working hard on some super serious stuff, so I've got no guest. And it's just me chatting away. So I might not even put this as a podcast because it might be so bad. I don't even have one of those days where I've got like a thought in my head. So I'm just going to be painting and talking to you guys. Completely understand if you don't want to hang out. But I completely get it. If you want to ask me some questions and chat about things, big up Jay Steers. I am good. 'Tis a Friday and I got my water. That's good. Neil Kerr, I heard there's a party. No, there was only a party yesterday when Neil was on. What a great guest Neil was. I was thinking about it a bit last night, actually, how hard it must be to judge those Warhammer events and sometimes be the bad guy. I found that in nightclubs. When I was in nightclubs and I would bar someone forever. Like, there was a bloke and he would like get drunk and he would start hitting girls. And like the first time it happened, you just like, maybe he was too drunk, it was a mistake. Second time, you barred. And all his mates hated me. Like, posting abusive shit online, everything. And I was like, your mate's hitting girls? Like, I don't really know how else anyway, this is years and years ago, so it's not a big deal. But I was thinking about that for Neil, and it must be really rough some days to have to make those really hard calls and tell people that they're dickheads. And I'm sure sometimes their mates are like, no, he's not a dickhead. Like the ever famous situation we've had on the Honest Wargamer sometimes, where we've called out cheaters or we said this guy's his behaviour is out of order. It never is received particularly well. Anyway, Chuckabutty in the chat. You could have come on and chatted with me, Chuckabutty. You're a legend. Paint party. Rob didn't book someone. Still great. Yeah, I'm not shy about admitting that. I didn't book someone. It's hard to book people every fucking day. Because sometimes there's not a lot to talk about. That's all I got. And it is really hard to just book different people all the time. Big news is I might be having I might start booking in a couple of regular guests as we go through the week. It's always fun having other people on. Anyway, so yes, all right, Chuckles. Yeah, those are the facts. We all know it. But I can hang out with you guys for an hour and talk shit. That's I mean, it's not Games Workshop, right? We'd have to talk for 3 hours over a game that wasn't happening. Also, how incredibly cool are Mephitic Blight Haulers? Can we talk about that? Choo-choo! This little bug. Right. Are we all hyped for the app landing at some point today? Yes, Scott B. I was waking up hoping to see the app. So the 40k app, I was waking up today hoping to see it. Didn't see it in my morning situation, so no app. How is the stream streak going? Was there an FAQ thing for it? The stream streak stuff going? What stream streak stuff? This? Stream streak stuff's going great. I was talking about this just yesterday, actually. I think I've been able to like improve and become a little bit more professional with the stream streaking, I think. I feel like I have anyway. Keeping to a schedule a little bit more, being a little bit more attentive, being able to converse a little bit better, trying to say less. Apparently also say like a lot. Going to try and stop doing that. I'll believe the app when I see it, says Dan Don't. I agree with that. I'm not 100% certain the app is going to be the all singing, all dancing legend that we expect it to be. I do expect, and this is really fair, I do expect the community and members of the community, and that's as far as I go right now in saying, to develop and deliver very exceptional tools. I think we hit a bit of a watershed moment earlier in the year in 40k when we saw the ITC Battles app launched, and someone's like, here is a digital tracker for your games on your phone. And everyone was like, yes, that's exactly what I want. Give me that. Army building has been a really predominant element for a while. And I mean, I'm just going to say it right now. If it was like buy a book, pen and paper, I just wouldn't do it. Not anymore. Like, maybe that's just me being like, first world problem. But like, I want there to be a scroll builder. And actually, I really like what Battlescribe does, where it tells you your list is illegal. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. I'm sure there'll be a whole bunch of people telling me that it's not perfect. But I really love that it does at least say you can't have this, or you've got too many options of that. Especially for 40k army list building. You 40k players must be like, Rob, you're an idiot. But 8 Sigmar is just like, click the unit. And honestly, that's great. And people still mess that up as well. FYI. Neil in the chat saying, yeah, it ain't easy, especially when you have to red card someone. So I was just ruminating on it last night, Neil, and I was just thinking that's an incredibly hard job, and I'm really, I'm proud to know you, I think, but I also think the community should make sure they back you up as much as possible in those situations. Obviously don't become a despot king, Neil. Red cards everywhere, yeah, because they're wearing flip-flops. I don't know. That would be what I'd red card people for. I want you all to know that. What's the line between someone not knowing their rules properly, making mistakes, and cheating, says War Machine? Okay. Good question. Rob, do you want some rubrics painted? Diedrin? Yes. So much. Diedrin, let's come back to that. Drop me a message. Answer, yes. Loads. What is the difference between not knowing the rules properly, making mistakes, and cheating? Let's talk about that. There you go. That's a really good. Why can't I wear flip-flops? Says Skinny Boots. I just don't like flip-flops. It's a personal thing. Of course you can wear flip-flops. You're your own person. My particular weird preferences don't mean that they apply to you. I obviously talk in absolutes, where I say things like, if you wear flip-flops, you probably should just jump into the sea. But what I really mean is, obviously you can have your own preferences, but mine are that I hate you. Copy pasting unit is also gold, not one troop unit setup. Spam it. Yes. Incredibly good point from Woidoy, because when you're doing a 40k unit and you're like, okay, I'm going to give him this weapon and this weapon loadout. That's the two. I want to repeat that unit on like a Catphron Destroyer or like, it doesn't matter what it is. Yeah, the ability to just like copy paste that. If that's not in the new app has got such a high bar to hit. Such a high bar. Nikki De Williams, hello, by the way. Star Learners, I'm building an Anvilgard army. I guess it's just for the narrative, but my old Dark Elf models, to be sure. Anvilgard doesn't seem competitive capabilities, does it? No, it's not overly style. Weirdly, dwarves are the new thing. Like a lot of fucking dwarves, if you like stuff. If you like to play Cities of Sigmar. But, yeah, dwarves are... You can build some crazy dwarf lists. You can have like 90 wounds on a 2-up armor save turn 1. 90. And they're going hella fast. They're movement 7 turn 1 without even talking about running. Hella fast. Dwarves, movement 7, 2-up armor save. Like a shield wall of destruction. But that isn't really helping you with me talking about them dark elves. Play them as dwarves? Fast dwarves? Fast dwarves. Crazy dwarves just sounds redundant. That's a good point. Nikki De Williams, if there's anything I'm responsible for, it's both hyperbole and redundant language. But it does fill up the time. Dwarves being fast, Nurgle being fast. Something is not right. I agree. Can you send me that dwarf list, please, Rob? Yes, I can. But it's simply this. It's like 90 Iron Breakers and like a ton of Longbeards, and then only Rob, where are Val and Falcon? So that happens on Tuesday, Valerie. Although Val probably won't be here for a while as he just had a child. Yeah, a bit disappointed with the chat with Neil yesterday. Was hoping to get some tips on how best to cheat, but didn't really get any. I think cook your dice. Thanks, Private, for bringing it back round for me. All right, let's talk about making genuine mistakes. Let's have a conversation, because I think this is a genuinely good one. And bigger, if K-Dread's in the chat, because I love a bit of K-Dread, he's my man that I'm not talking to. So let's talk about the split in the community with the people who want to play games and have a laugh, which I include myself in, FYI. Yeah, and then the people who take it seriously enough that I would consider them to be taking it like they would be dealing with it professionally, or not even professionally, but they would they'd be approaching it right. So when you go to a tournament, Cook Dice, did you ever see the video of the loaded dice from last year? No. I have seen the Team England dice, though. Shot out to the Team England guys, who I like. So when you're going to an event, so I wrote the workbook, obviously everyone watching at home, which is on the Honest Wargamer website, if you haven't seen it before, and go give it a read. And one of the things that I'm really, really serious about, if you're going to an event, is to get off book. You should be able to recite what all of the rules for your army are pretty much off the top of your head. Which is why I really banged on about playing your army for a year. So sticking with your army and playing it for a year. So you know all of your rules and you knew them intimately and you knew the interactions that they had and all of that. That is not like something you should do to do well at a tournament. It is the base line of acceptable effort that you put in before you attend a tournament, in my opinion. So thank you, Neil. I will do. Hey, Prop Joe. Hey, OJ. Yes, I designed and ordered those Welsh dice, and they are busted as fuck. Did I mean Team Wales? I didn't know. Is there a dwarf equivalent in 40k? No, but a dwarf's in 40. Oh, there's some Necromunda dwarves. Big fan of them. Okay, right. So your baseline, if you're going to a tournament, if you're playing with a friend, yeah, you have some drinks out, you have some sweets or some crisps or whatever you're doing, you've got your books open, you're having a laugh, you stop the game halfway through and you go, actually, like me and Nick played a 40k game the other day, or actually when I played Tom, like something happened in the table on the game and we didn't know what it was, so we stopped the game and obviously we just read through all the rules, which took like 5 or 10 minutes, which is obviously a ball ache, and we got to the answer. Awesome. Yeah, and then we carried on with our game, and then we lodged that in our brains. Like, this is the thing that we have to all admit. Playing Warhammer takes a lot of work ahead of time. Like, a lot of work ahead of time. And that's why... So Games Workshop want you to buy all the armies. They want you to think that you can pick up an Orc army tomorrow, build it and paint it and play it, and then you can pick up another army and build it and paint it and play it tomorrow. And that's just simply not true a lot of the time. Age of Sigmar is a little bit easier if you just ignore all of the allegiance abilities, you just put your models down, right, and then you just play War Scrolls. You can pretty much play Age of Sigmar like that. You can pretty much play 40k like that as well. Referencing's a little bit harder, but Battlescribe's fine. It's all the additional stuff on top. However, baseline, Rob PM sent. Thanks, Diadrin. Owen Jackson, getting off book is key to improving as a player. Yes. So get off book is my key. And why does this relate to cheating at the week, like when you're at a tournament? Okay. Now, when I make a genuine mistake at a tournament, it's a genuine mistake. But is it a genuine mistake because I got off book and I just remembered something wrong? Or is it a genuine mistake because I didn't know my rules well enough? Now, that's the important distinction. If I don't know my rules well enough, why am I really at the event? And I know that might sound like over the top, but I think that sounds fair. And I would like you guys to know, am I being too serious? Or is that fair? Like, there should be like I get it, we're all busy. We're all busy. And especially you guys, like, I do this for a living. Like, especially you guys who are just like, Rob, I work like 60 hours a week. I've got family. I've got kids. Like, I mean, number one, why are you buying several armies if that's like how little time you have? I know some of you will feel personally attacked by that, and I apologise. Just like the sound of 1,000 people just being like, "How dare you? How dare you?" But my point is, I think it's a fair statement. I treated it fuck. But the statement is, do you think it's fair that you go to a tournament only if you're off book? I feel that that's really fair. I feel that's fair because that is going to stop a lot of that action. And what I mean by get off book is you know the rules off the top of your head. Someone can ask you a question, you can answer the rule. You don't need to reference it. Have your book handy for reference. So I'm going to see what you guys say in the chat. Colonel Cabbage only use book for monster damage profiles. I think that's fair. And that's partly so my opponent feels confident about me doing them properly. That's good. Nikki DeWilliams. 100% agree about knowing your rules if going to an event. It's important for both you and your opponent to enjoy the game. I think it is. We talk a lot about the social contract. Like, I bring my list, I bring my army, and, should I design my army so that my opponent has more fun with it? I mean, before that, like, at least explain the rules. Like, at least be able to, like, articulate, like, what all of your stuff does quite well with confidence, I think. Yes Meatball says you'll avoid all innocent mistakes if you have your mates check your plans or make friends at tourneys if you don't have local friends. Agreed with that. If you don't have local friends, played a lovely guy with his Soaring Spite last year, took the chance to correct his misconceptions during the game and gave him mulligans, then had a chat after the game to gear him up for being able to compete harder in later games. There you go. But did you do that at an event, Yes Meatballs? Because I feel that is not something you should have to do at an event, right? If you don't know the rules, then you can't play well because you don't intrinsically know what your units can do. Yes. I do not have the mindset to have more than a handful of armies. I like to stick to my Beasts of Chaos, says Draconda, and my Seraphon, and I do not want to collect anything else. Does that make me odd? I cannot comprehend dropping an army on the whim for the next sort of thing. No, I think... no, I don't think that's odd. I think there's a whole bunch of people like you, and there's a whole bunch of people who want to collect everything. And I probably would put myself in the second category because I just think everything is cool. I just think everything's amazing. You know, they release I'm looking at the Necrons and I'm like, do I really like Necrons? This fucking looks rad. And I think some of it's fear of missing out. You know, the other guy's got the cool toys you don't have in some situations. But I think that's okay to just be like, to not get an army. Just be like, these are my boys. These are my, this is who I am. Problem with that though is, obviously, if Games Workshop massively nerf your army or they release other stuff that you can't really compete against, you're stuck with an army that has the feel bads, I guess. Especially if you want to collect armies and win games. But I understand a lot of people are telling me that that's fairly a niche, and maybe I'm beginning to understand it more and more how much of a niche situation that is. I once played a 7th Ed game at a Caledonian Uprising, says Sir Callum, in which I made a mistake which got a major win. Discussed it with my opponent at the end of the game when we were checking scoring, and I conceded to give him the major. It had a major impact on the game, and it was something that I should have checked. Have a laugh about it whenever we see each other at events, but still makes me feel awful when I think about it. So Callum, excellent response. Excellent response. And also, I think that's actually 100% the right situation as well. But, you know, some people won't admit it. Or some people are like, oh, actually, that's my 4th win. You know? Anyway. My 12 armies say, get fucked, Rob. Good. You're not correct, sir. You should only have to check your book on rare occasions in tournament. You are not incorrect. Okay, good. I'm with you. I can't be asked to learn the rules, so I don't go to tournaments. Stuff, Lynn. Perfect. Because you recognise that's why those casual games are so fun. So fun. You're looking up your rules. You're like, wait, I'm damage 3? And your opponent's like, whoa! I had no idea. Casual games, weekly league, etc. are good ways to learn your rules along the way. Playing Warhammer has an unspoken social contract. I agree, but it's the learn your rules contract is something we don't talk about much, and I have a reason. Sorry, I've just dropped my paintbrush. I have a reason that I think that we don't talk about it much, and the reason that I don't think we talk about it much is because who can be asked? Like, let's be honest. Like, if you can kind of half-arse it, like, let's half-arse it. I'm guilty of that as a person. Some people are just very well planned out and methodical. I'm not. So actually, taking the time to get off book is a real effort for someone like me, and we should all try and do that, right? Anyway, constantly checking your book ruins the experience of the opponent. I've done it and it felt bad. I agree with that. Hello, Trog. Trying to learn my rules for ninth now is difficult. Teaching my fiance to play, I get to learn a new system and it gives us something to do with stay-at-home orders. Oh, that's cool, Nikki DeWilliams. I think that's fun. Looks at Gene Steeler collection in tears. I'm sorry, Dan Don't. Yeah, that's a good example, right? Gene Steeler courts are a really beautiful army that people would want to collect, but they suck at the minute. We think. We haven't got tournaments to justify that, but maybe. I used to play local FOW events. Not sure what they are, but used to get paired with a guy who didn't know the rules. Even worse, when we had to look up the rules, he would run to friends to confirm my interpretation. Oh my god. Draconda, I introduced my boyfriend to AOS Reminders, a brilliant website to help learn an army. Yes! Also excellent. Be Callum. We should all be Callum. I agree with that. My second game AOS against a mate playing his second game totally mashed the rules for his Stonehorn and table me. We still mock him for the flagrant though accidental cheating to Scoppy. Well, anyone can enter a tournament at the minute. I just think you won't have a good time when you don't know your own army and game rules. I agree with that, Bridges one, massively. Learning my rules is no problem. The reason I don't play tournaments is because I can't learn all the other armies' rules. Flames of War. Thanks, Dan Don't. Yeah, okay, so if not everyone... so if the social contract was you have to learn all your rules, and because that relates to Neil's point, right, or the question that we got asked. Cheating or like accidental cheating in an event is much harder to do if you know all of your rules, and if your opponent knows all of their rules, it's much harder for that to happen. And if it's much harder for that to happen, then it really cuts down on, did you make a mistake or were you doing that intentionally? Does that make sense? I'm not saying it destroys it, but if there's a culture, which maybe today is the start of us having that conversation, if there's a culture of, I must learn the rules, I must know my rules off the top of my head at an event as part of that social contract, then I think that will cut down on a lot of misinterpretations. Another thing is rolling. I've played where an opponent has picked up their dice, rolled them, and then seemed unsure about what they need to hit and had to think about whilst looking at the roll. I'd rather spend the time to know what's beforehand. Yeah. So actually, a really good thing. So yeah, one of the things that you can do, and I think that this is a really good system, is calling. I don't know if anyone has got another version of what this might be called, but basically I call everything that I'm doing. So I'll say something like, I've got 2 attacks each, so I've got 40 attacks. I'm hitting on 3s, I'm wounding on 4s, it's rend 1, it's damage 1, and then I roll. Yeah, so I don't say, yes, K-Dread, learning rules, how? You can't possibly remember every rule for armies you don't play. You have to trust your opponent, that's why I read. Yes, it's impossible. The system mastery, I spoke about this with Nick off air last night. Telegraphing your roles, is that what Chuckleberry calls it? I'll come back to that. If anyone's got any names for what that process might be called, or what we might be able to call it in the future. But one of the points there is the system mastery, especially for something like 40k, but even, I've started saying it like those damn Canadians, screw that, 40k. The even Age of Sigmar units, like there's a lot of stuff, a lot of units, like someone give me the attack profile for protectors off the top of their head. Probably 3s and 3s, but anyway. My point is, is that learning everything is probably impossible, but learn your stuff really well, you're just going to have to trust the other guy. I know that that's a bit like, but they should explain it to you before the game starts, right? Um, uh, learning other rules, learning equals learning other armies sounds like a gateway drug to starting a new army. Hell yeah! A lot of cheating, for want of a better word, I would say, is slack measurement of moves, especially when it makes difference to subsequent charges. Prop Joe, I agree with that. Okay, so telegraphing your roles is what we could call this system. Calling is important, says Yes Meatballs, because everyone forgets the to hit or wound modifiers, then the opponent can remind you. Yes, yes. I can't imagine playing a game, friendly or otherwise, where I didn't explain what I was doing to my opponents as I was doing it, says Ben. It's hard work. It's hard work, right? And Age of Sigmar is, not Age of Sigmar, Warhammer, Wargaming is a game of like communication, constant communication. You're doing the job of a computer, really. You're saying, I've got 10 attacks, I'm hitting on 2s, I'm winning on 4s, or whatever the situation might be. You're like, sweet, I know what that is now. Because your opponent, like, also it gets you pumped as well. Like, let's say you got 10 attacks, or 10 saves to make, and it's like, 10 saves to make, and you're like, right, so you've gone through my armor save, and I've got a 5-up DPR save. And you're like, amazing. Yeah? And you roll 10 of them, you should get 3, but you get 7. And you're like, you're dancing, they're crestfallen, yeah? Or you're like, I've got a 2-up armor save, I've got 6 saves to make, you roll them all, you roll 4 ones. They're laughing, you're downbeat, but you know what's happening beforehand. Like, a lot of when I do commentary for Warhammer, like when we're doing the tournament coverage, a lot of it is we set up the drama. So it's like, there's Nagash, right? He's going to be almost impossible to kill. However, yeah, that Stonehorn is going to go give it its best try. Or not even that Stonehorn, I don't know. I'll think of something worse. Or those catapults. If Nagash happens to fail his 3-up armor save, those catapults are going to do 5 damage each. And they're maybe going to take him out. And it's like, wow, right? And there's the drama there before the dice rolls happen. Like, calling it afterwards is a little bit more complicated because you have to explain it. You have to be like, oh, why that was important was because of this. Sometimes that happens as well. But, like, do you not think that calling stuff makes games more exciting as well? Like, I've done this thing. How exciting is that? Walking your opponent through your turn rolls. I know when my friends and I were first learning, talking what we were doing out loud really helped us memorize the rules. I'd agree with that, Creator Gator. Interesting experiment in crowdsourced information. You quote a random unit and see how quickly that chat could post the attack profile without looking it up. Yeah, that's fun. Let's give you guys the chance to do that. It's really not common for players not to. It's really not common. Not common. For players to not explain what they're doing while they're doing it. Mind blown. I think it's a new people thing. I think when you play other people enough, they slowly learn. But it's, I don't know. Has anyone else experienced it in the chat? Have people experienced it? I've experienced people not calling things and what they do. One of the big ones is psychic or magic powers. Who has ever rolled a dice and has gone, is it 6 or a 7? Like, I don't know. And then you go and look. And I'll admit that. That's been me before. That's been part of my life. So I've remembered that. It acts like narration to the events, otherwise who knows what's actually going on. There's no story to follow. Yeah. This plays like playing with intent with more steps, says Ty Winning. Playing to intent is different, though. Like, playing to intent is also vocalizing and making people aware of things that you're doing. So, like especially with dice rolling. Like, so if you're, like, your rules, for instance, you say, what Ty Winning is talking about with playing to intent, if you guys... I'm sure most of you know. You're watching a Warhammer channel. I'm sure you're aware. But it's, I move this unit and I say, hey, I've moved this unit and it's 8 inches away. Yeah? And then, so I'm going to need 8 to charge. And your opponent gives it a measure or they don't. Anyway, or let's not even call it an 8. You know, you move your unit and you need a 4-inch charge, right? But you're expecting to roll like a 7 or 8. But you say, this is 4 away. Then you roll your dice and it's a 4. Now, where the issue is if your opponent then does like a cheeky measure. Or if you move your unit, this is the one. You move your unit, you don't say, I need a 4-inch charge, and your opponent doesn't agree with you. They say, agreed. Then you do the measure, you have a little look, and then you think, But you don't tell your opponent. You measure, but you don't tell your opponent. Then you roll a dice. It's only a 4. Then they measure and they say you're out, and then you say, "Well, I thought I was in. I thought it was a 4 I needed." So if you call it, if you say, "This is what I need. This is what I'm going to roll," your opponent's aware. They're comfortable. You guys are agreeing on stuff. Really good. Calling is good for playing fast as hell, but accurately. I played Steph Robertson's horrifying Grey Knights a Custodian list against my Craft Worlds. 6 full turns done in 2 hours on a custom mission pack because we called it and corrected every roll. There we go. We all want... Oh, Tom Jens. We all want a strong narrative to make lumps of colour and plastic come alive in our imagination. Yes, we do. And we're also the arbiters of that story, right? We help create that story with our words. Rob, you wonderful bearded man, how are you? Like, really, when you started the Stream Streak show, how many did you expect to make? Oh, thanks, Tommy Jens. I'm good. Thanks very much for asking. I'm good. Some days it's like today. It's a little bit more loose than I would like for you guys, but that's fine. It's fine. I'm trying to do the super serious stuff as well. There's a lot of moving parts, and some days just gets on top of me. But I'm very lucky that you guys will just hang out with me and chat Warhammer, so I'm good. I think being on it and organised with rules, dice tokens is the baseline for tournament play. I agree with that. Poor communication and chaotic opponent with table of dice and crap stresses me out and makes me sceptical they know the rules. I would also agree with that, Owen, as well. I don't accept anyone not calling. It opens you up to mistakes or lies. Okay, there we go. So I think we're all okay with that. I've experienced only overly fast calling. Oh, okay. Where a sequence of hits, wounds, and mortal wounds damage has my opponent asking me to remove models before I even knew what was happening. That can be a little bit stressful. I can understand that. I think also asking your opponent to articulate, and also I think if you do it, your opponent will do it. I feel like you'll start to mirror each other. And if you do it, you can just say, "Would you mind calling what you're doing as you do it?" That would be really great. We should all have minstrels to narrate our play. Kind of like The Witcher. Bonus, maybe they'll write a banger of a song. I'd be down for that. You have to torch K-Dread. This is all for you. This entire chat is for you. I always ask my opponent to measure any charges. It saves any but her. I always do that as well. Always do that. One of the things I always do when I charge a unit in as well is I ask my opponent to tell me how many models can hit. So I move my units in, and I say, "You tell me how many of my models can hit." I know that, because you have to instinctively trust that the other person is telling the truth. Our entire game is predicated on that concept. I know that there's a lot of podcasts and there's a lot of shows, and they're just like, "Make sure you check," or, "Watch out for your opponent." And I'm just like, who are you facing? What environment are you in? The game is based on almost everything you tell me is a fact without me having to check it. Yeah, fine. If you want to check other people's stuff, do so. I'm with you, but it's a game of inherent trust. I move a unit. I don't watch you move exactly 4 inches. You might move 4.5 inches, or you might move 5 inches. And that 1 inch difference is a massive effect on a charge roll. A huge effect. A lot of time, you talk 40k orcs, everyone's take the culture where you get +1 to your charge roll, so that when you deep strike 9 inches away, you've got an 8-inch rollable charge. But that +1 is massive. Defined the army in some ways. So, I have to trust that you're moving it 4 inches, not 5 inches. So then surely I should trust you on everything else. And that's the culture we should live. Which is why I think we should be overly critical of not learning our rules well enough, and overly critical of anyone who we know abuses the rules. Because the moment we know that they abuse the rules, you just be like, "Nah, you need to fuck off." Because trust is pretty tantamount to this entire process. Do you feel as though not streaming for 365 consecutive days would be a terrible failure? Yes. So there's a birthday coming up in October. So that's still at least 2 months away, 3 months away. And I was doing the math on it, and I was just it was can we go away for 3 days? Someone was asking me, and I was like, yeah, if I'm allowed to stream for an hour a day. Because I kind of feel like I want to hit a year now, or at least 6 months. At least 6 months is kind of fun. Because what we at now? 129. So we've done 4 months. So 2 more months would make it 6 months, which would be pretty fun. It'll be a fun number. Uh, I dread the end of the streak. I think so. More than likely, if you guys want to know, the streak will only ever end up being that I'll do it definitely Monday to Friday forever, and then I just won't do the weekends at some point because it does like throw a bit of a spanner in the weekends. Like I haven't been able to like go away anywhere for the weekend, or if I do, it has to be after 12 sort of situation. So if I do end up like stopping the streak, it'll just end up going like Monday to Friday. We always do this. Because I'm enjoying it and I think it's really fun. As long as that fits in with the stuff for the Super Series, as long as that stuff fits in with stuff with the other plans I've got for the future, I'm really into it. Don't lie, Rob. You're now doing this forever. Hey, sorry again. Hope you're well. Not bad etiquette to check abilities at all. I've done it and I've had the same done to me. There's a million interactions possibly get wrong. No, I'm not saying it's bad etiquette to check. I'm not saying it's bad etiquette to check. I think you should encourage to check and check something early as well. You know, when someone says the first, like let's say the first movement phase for 40k and the first psychic magic phase for Age of Sigmar in the hero phase. Someone casts a spell and they're like, I need a 9. I'm like, can you just check that? Like, it's definitely. Then they can show you and you'll be like, cool. And then they're like, he's going to check everything, so I best not fuck about. 40k, someone moves something, they're like, this moves 8. Like, you're like, you know, as long as it's not a marine, you know, it's definitely 6. You know, this moves 8. You'll be like, cool. Can I just check that, actually? I'll be like, there you go. You're like, sweet. You know that there's a thing. Will we be doing another Start Fest for tomorrow's preview? Yes. Weekend streams will just end up being tournament commentary, right? T-Man Cash? Correct. Like, when the Super Series happens, which will be on Saturdays? No one knows that? Does everyone know that? Yeah, it does that. It says that on the schedule. Saturdays. So Age of Sigmar will be Saturdays. And then we eventually, I'll tell you guys this secretly, when we eventually go and do the 40k Super Series, which will run concurrently with the Age of Sigmar Super Series, that will occur on a Sunday. So you'll have Saturday, you'll do the commentary, we'll do the commentary for Age of Sigmar, and 40k will do the commentary and gaming for 40k, which is a secret, I guess. So shh. But that'll be fun. That'll be really, really fun. And it'll be like a full weekend of fun stuff in different game systems. So if you like one, you like the other. This thing is, sorry, a bit confused. I'm under the impression that as a community, people don't want new players at tournaments. How is that welcoming? I'm not being argumentative. I literally want to be clear. I don't agree with that at all, Hook and Pin. I think when people say they don't want new people, what they mean is they don't want people who are unprepared. Like, if you turn up to a tournament having never played an Age of Sigmar game, I think that that's not fair to everyone else. I don't think that would be fair to me, and I don't think that would be fair to any of my friends. I don't think it would be fair to anyone. I think if you've never played a game, I think that that's super unfair. If you don't know your army well enough, so that's the level above. If you don't know your army well enough, I also think that's unfair. So those are the two tiers. I think the minimum should be you know your army well enough that you can quote all your rules to your opponent. And then maybe if you haven't played as many games, that's fine, but you know every rule off the top of your head. You can say absolutely everything. Like, that's the minimum requirement, in my opinion. And if anyone disagrees with that, I'd like to hear why in the chat. While I love the streak, take care of your mentals. I'm doing all right. Thanks, Nicky DeWilliams. I appreciate that. Thank you to all of you. You're always so fucking nice to me, so thank you. Honestly, I'm doing okay. I'm just an incredibly disorganized human being and awful at sitting down and getting stuff done. I just want you all to know that. That's who I am as a person. I'm like a ball of energy. I'll bounce around. I can't focus on a task. It's probably ADHD. Like, who knows what it is? Like, it's excitement all the time. So I'm okay. I just have to work a lot. Not because necessarily there's loads of work, although there is, just because I'm really crap at organising myself. So I was just to let you all know. The end of the streak is where we find out we're all in a Black Mirror episode. Find someone else to do the weekend stream streaks. Yeah, we could do that. We could have special guests. That would be fun to keep it going. Do you think that counts? Question in the Twitch chat. Do you think it counts if I get someone else to fill in for me for a day? That's a question. My first tournament, I made a mistake to trust what people are doing and playing against an FEC player. They summoned in 3 kit players at 7 inches instead of 9, and I noticed, but a turn later it was too late. Would you call a TO at that point? Yes, I would. I'd call a TO and I'd say, this isn't right. This happened. They should know their rules. So could you make a decision on that? Uh, 40k Super Series. Yeah, Nicky Williams. Come on, it's obvious. My game would love format like that. When are we allowed to play again? Yeah, I promise you it's coming. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. I'd like to hear more positive vibes at the 40k community, and the most interesting thing about AOS and what has kept me a soul game is the community locally and across all tourneys. 40k is going to happen, man. 40k is a great community. It just needs to push that feeling out there. Games Workshop seems to be okay with changing a faction in 40k multiple times during addition. Why do you think they are reluctant to do an Age Sigmar? Tarquinex, could you just kind of expand on that thought for me and what you mean? When the streak ends, do we all find out it's been... We've done that. There's a clear path to tournament so long as you're not in a really remote area. Play mates and locals, get comfy. Play a one-day local, play a two-day minor, play a major. If you jump straight up to 4, you'll get into some friction. Unless you have you live in Fort William and just can't do the other 3. Yeah. Yes, it counts. Yes, it counts. Still nice, though. Restart the clock. Come on, Rob. You know in your heart it doesn't count. I don't think it counts, is the point. If a weekender joins the Wargamer crew, then it counts. Okay. Is the Wargamer stream street not the Rob stream street? That's fair. That's true. Okay. Gives me an out. I'm fine with the streak going on weekdays. I also need to get stuff done. Would miss playing Votive with you, though. Look forward to Dark Tide. Yes. Oh, that's some big news. 40k FPS game came out. Vermin Dark Tide. That's exciting. That's exciting. I don't know if I'm that excited about it, but this could be fun. Pete Pratt, double header Super Series on a weekend. If you could do just a little more content, Rob, I could cancel my Sky TV and Netflix subscriptions. Well, it won't be on every weekend forever because I need a weekend off, but also I need to go to weekends to other tournaments around the world. Like I would like to always go and visit CanCon, WTC, all the events that I know and love. There's a whole bunch of events in other countries, like Capital City Bloodbath, the Canadian team event, ATC. I'd like to try and hit one time. There are events in Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Germany, France, Italy. All those ones I want to attend at some point, and I need the weekends free in order to be able to do that. So I can't do the Super Series every weekend, but we can do it in big allotted slots, like a big sports show, and that's the plan. Any thoughts on a ranking system, says Bridge One? Is this for Age Sigmar? I'm going to say something about the ranking system, and I'm going to try and be as kind as I can about it. And it's not a fully formed thought. So you guys, let me know what you think. So I think the ranking that they do, let's say in something like ITC, or even that you end up doing at a local level for something like the Masters, is really positive for people to show how they're doing well and how that they've put a lot of effort and time into something. That's cool. Don't get me wrong. I have a little bit of an issue with it in that I think what it does is it allows people who do perform well quite consistently to use that to browbeat other people with their opinions. Now, there's a lot of people with a lot of shitty opinions. I'm probably one of them. But there's also a lot of people who do quite well at tournaments who also have very shitty opinions. Also, some of those people who do well at tournaments because of not necessarily the best reasons sometimes. Maybe they're not particularly nice on the tabletop. Maybe they also make some genuine mistakes. And so, I have a bit of an issue with it in that I think what it does is it gives people an idea that they are above other people in some way that is in some ways correctly earned, definitely correctly earned, but I don't know, something sticks with me about it sometimes. That's my thoughts. Especially when TOs don't impose, learn all your fucking rules. They don't impose, strict, you've made a mistake, you kicked out. If you're going to be the master of something, but then you go on to have a gaming career where you consistently make mistakes at every single tournament, yeah, someone needs to look at you and be like, nah, that's not right. How many times did you get that wrong in the lead up to that particular tournament, right? Whereas, well, I'll come back to this in a minute. I think you also need a weekend off to complete AOS in Ireland. Yes, literally was thinking about that. I was thinking about my Doom Wheels earlier. Did you see that, Pete? Did you see the Doom Wheel list from the Australian event yesterday? Oh, was it yesterday? No, on Wednesday. getting 40 acolytes. Obviously, they won't actually be acolytes. They'll be like some 3D printed acolytes, but because they're like £13 per one acolyte. No one's doing that ever. Um, uh, so let me see what you guys are saying about that in the chat, and then I'll come back to something about that in a minute. I 100% agree that your first game of AOS shouldn't be in a tournament. I don't agree that the first tournament attendee needs to know all their army list stats and rules off the top of their head. Okay, Ben. I'm fine with training off high-quality competitive game to help that player make the step into the game and the community. What if, Ben, events, this is the other problem, events literally called themselves like a new starter friendly. They were like, this is for new people, or this is for people who haven't been playing a lot. Like, I think events could really get some, like, this is a newbie tournament. Like, you know, you've got pick some. Benjamin Saville's like, I'll go to that. Not that he would, because he's not that sort of person. It's like, no, you're not allowed to go. You're too good. Stop that. Yeah, Darren be like, Darren, Benjamin, people like that wouldn't want to go to those tournaments. They wouldn't want to go to the tournaments, or maybe they would in like a coaching role. They'd be like, I want to go and help. Yeah, I'll go teach. I'll go play a terrible army, and I'll spend a whole weekend teaching people. Now, that'd be super magnanimous of them, because they would cut away from all their other gaming time. But that is how I would set up a tournament. But like, this is a tournament for serious gaming. This is a tournament for super noobs. Like, if you did that. The Game 4 app made Tabletop Minions guy could be good for finding games. Yes, there is. The Game 4 app is one. It would be a great place for coaches to advertise themselves. It would. Beat me to it. Rankings is just important for the TO to enforce the rules and make sure players are keeping with the intent. Yes, as a relative newbie to the hobby, I wouldn't speak high enough for the community that I've met on Twitter, Discord, and TTS. Agreed. They're also wonderful people. The community is great. Rob, I've never been to an AOS tournament outside of Warhammer World. I do not know where to look. What is the easiest way to sign up for events? Actually, I think the easiest way to sign up for events, when they eventually happen again, is there is a calendar put. So this Trog does a calendar from WS10. Do you know what? I will try and get that event calendar put onto the Honest Wargamer website. I will send him a message straight after the show. I'll send him a message, and then I'll try and get it so that there's some. If not, there's Dan Short's AOS calendar as well. Either of those, I'll try and make them public on the Honest Wargamer website. I don't know how to do that. I'll have to speak to the website guy to help people find events. But that Game 4 app is also good as well. Malekith, that's a great idea. I have a number of high-level players attend, like Ben, for increased support and coaching. Yeah, that could be something also we set up. I'll talk to Owen as well, people like that. Benjamin, Matthew, and I would never go to 1K newbie tournament and take first, second, and third. Awkward. Okay, maybe you would. Just thinking out loud, maybe it needs to be combined ranking with tournament results, the hobby score and sponsorship score. So, okay, yeah. So, the Super Series actually started out as a singles event in its original inception, like a year and a half ago. Because, obviously, for all the reasons you're talking about, it would be a way to make like a more serious version of rankings, effectively. That's how it originally started out. But as the time evolved and it went on, the problem with singles rankings is also... So let me finish my first thought in a rare course change for me. Started out as a singles event, but I think I identified that there were some problems with singles events generally and singles gaming, in that in some cases in the Warhammer game, whether it be 40k or Age of Sigmar, and if we look at like the Brohammer list from LVO, they took all the same list identically 4 times. So those 4 players, independent of their skill level, and their skill levels are super high. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, at a 40k event, the biggest 40k, maybe the biggest, probably the biggest, 40k event, LVO, singles at least, the same 4 guys, I think it's 4, took the same list to the event. Now, they all recognise that they have a very high skill level. Of course they do, because of who they are. But also that was the very best list for winning the event. Right? So, do you understand the... so they were like, this is the list. Now, if you do a singles event, like for like the Super Series, ignoring the band format, if you do that, what you end up with is the list taken by all the guys. right? And maybe there's a counter list. Maybe it's more rock, paper, scissors. And in some situations, with Age of Sigmar, Slanesh, Vanguard Wing, pick a thing. Castellan build in 40k, which was the previous winner of LVO last year, which you could have basically called. I don't know, the Flyers didn't win it, did they? It was the Castellan build. But the Flyers got close. Effectively, you have like a problem with singles format tournaments as well, because someone will say, I'm the best player here. It's like, okay, did you take the probably broken-ish army for 6 months? And someone's like, yeah. And I'm like, does it count on a skill cap? A lot of the really, really good players take the really broken list, and that's super okay. Their skill is really high, and their army power is really high. So combined, they do really well. The problem is when they have a really good army, and maybe their skill is pretty medium, but they've just kicked seals and clubs all across. And I think that the ranking system sometimes allows for that to happen. But ITC tried to deal with that with the majors and the minors system. So if you're in the majors, there tends to be more people, and it's harder to achieve that result. So that's my kind of open thought on rankings at the moment. I feel the team format system of the WTC and the Super Series not will lead to better results, but I feel like it's less focused on the individual as well. And I feel like individualism is... I don't think that's a problem. I think sports stars and other people should be who they are, and that's awesome. But I feel like that team philosophy is the philosophy of Warhammer, which is we're a community. It's that team philosophy of like we're a group, we're going to go try and compete against those other groups. But it's that kind of mentality that we are a community and that we're together, and it fosters more of that idea. So I'm more geared towards that, and I prefer it. I think is going to be the answer. Yeah, you're right, Rob. Broham Leviathan list. Funny enough, afterwards, Siegler said we need digital rules, and Father of the Future Apothecary is still broken. Good lad. Right. In my opinion, there's a clear delineation in the level of competitiveness and consequently competency in tournaments. Local one-dayers are generally more relaxed and a great way to get into competitive gaming. But once you start getting two-day events where people are investing money in travel and accommodation, the standard and expectations might be higher. I think there's a really good article that could be written about there. I played in a TTS beginner tournament less than 6 months in the hobby and less than 3 plays in real life. It was super good to learn the game and see other armies I wasn't used to. Games took 6 hours, but it was fun. Okay, there you go. I'm sorry you may have missed my reply to you. Well, GHB this year really hasn't changed faction much at all. So the factions, okay, it hasn't done much for the external balance of the game. I've only been playing for 2 years or so, but it seems that 40k that for 40k things are a problem of stale or spam Games Workshop. Deal with it in 40k the right way, e.g. Tau Commander spam early in 8th. But Eel spam, for example, has been around a lot, as long as I remember. Okay, so you're asking, do they approach the games differently? I wouldn't say that's the case. I wouldn't say that's the case, is the simple answer to that. They're different teams, if that answers your question, Tarquin X. There's different teams deal with Age of Sigmar who deal with 40k. So maybe we do end up with some sort of like different kind of structure. They definitely have a lot more focus on 40k. They have more people working on it. They have bigger teams. They have these, I'm hoping by this stage they've reached out to people like Clint from CanCon, because he organises the largest Age of Sigmar event in the world and has done twice, like for 2 years. So if they're not asking him to support stuff like they are asking the guys at ITC and Frontline Gaming, they clearly don't want to support tournaments. They just want to get in with these people who organise the things. So, yeah. Should seedings at tournaments be a thing? I do not. I do think those big round ones are super exciting. Owen, yes, I think they could definitely be a thing. But you always have to give a pathway in, Owen, to new people. So if you were going to do that, you would have to set up a process for people to enter in and then leave. What's Scott B saying? Scott B. I think judging Warhammer players is maybe more similar to motorsport than, say, tennis or boxing. Okay, good. As it's not just the player skill, the equipment comes in. Just like a racing driver wins because of how good their car is, as well as their own skill. Scott B. Agreed. That's a much better example than something like cricket. Very much so. Very much so. That's a really good analogy. Thank you. Race car drivers. That's what they are, race car drivers. I used to know a guy who was in Honda F1 works team. He was well hacked off that the drivers got all the credit. So I had to type a reply multiple times to noob-friendly event question. It always gets essay links, so I'll leave it at saying fine with events like that. Okay, good. All right, but if you want to ever send me a message with a long version, I'll read it. Less money, champagne and models, though, sadly, in Age Sigmar right now, or in 40k right now. Soon, look at those esport guys. They've got money, ladies. Not that that's what we do it for. Kudos for addressing contentious topic on the show today, which is rankings contentious? I think teams is more fun. I think teams gives a pathway in for people. I've had people quote which ITC ranking they are to me before they started to make their point, like it justifies something to me. And I think that's my major issue with the situation. Not to say that the people who are highly placed in the ITC rankings aren't excellent. Listen to the 40k stats guy. At LVO, the people who are in that top bracket of ITC rankings also had a crazy win percentage as a group. It was like that 100 players and their win percentage as a group, I think it was like 75% or something. They're good players. Almost always. They attend events a lot. They're good players. I've got no dramas with that at all. I have only tangentially played AOS for a little bit and have come across the 40k, and it seems like they're a bit less responsive to feedback and stuff in AOS. Maybe it feels a bit more skewed. Yeah, but Age Sigmar also has a whole bunch of people who don't really care about the feedback. I mean, we do, but like, has there been an example of Games Workshop nailing it on the feedback for Age Sigmar like one time? Like, they're crap at it. Like, they are crap at it. Mainly it's because of their community liaison person is a potato. But who knows? Who knows why? It is less responsive, but it's still really fun. Anyway. Rob, we had a big discussion on our Dutch AOS app about teams. How do you, as an insert country community, decide what team group players should go? The 5 best players don't necessarily make the best team. How would these teams be selected in your opinion? For Magic the Gathering, it was just the top 3 for the Nationals. Do the Super Series. Run a Super Series. End up with a winner. They're the guys that can go. If your team doesn't work well together in the Super Series, it doesn't work well together as a national team. Look at the French. Listen, it's not a new system. The French do it all the time. They run a whole bunch of team tournaments. They end up with 2 team winners, and then they ram them together and they form an 8-man team for the ETC. Yeah, just run team tournaments and end up allow people to put teams together that are good and beat the other teams and be like, you guys have won it by being good. Yeah, that way the internal structure is good. And if there's 4 kick-ass players, yeah, and they beat all the other people, they're the best. They're the best. What? Who else do you want to win? They've proven themselves. We can beat all of you. We'll go on to beat everyone else. That's the plan. That's how I would pick teams. Just let them be the best by winning. Seems to make sense. Can I get a yes or no in the chat to that? And then I'm going to head out for the day. I'll be back later on the T-Sports Network. Check the socials for that information coming soon. And it's been a pleasure talking to you guys. Pleasure talking to you guys. Thanks very much. I honestly thought I'd do some painting, but I painted 0 things. Now, man, just pick your mates. But pick your mates and win, Owen. Pick your mates and win. Halifax, my pleasure. I would wonder how much the percentage of the top IC players is driven by their access to wide range of models. Great question. I'll come back to that another day. Paint 0 things my average week. All right, dudes. Fuck you, buddies. Patreon. Couldn't do it without you. My love forever and always. Twitch chat. You guys are obviously the best bit. Join me tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. It's just really fun talking to you guys. So thanks. And we'll see you soon. Expect a new regular show coming soon on the stream streak, but a bit like the 40k adjacent show. Gonna have another show, but I'll let you know when that's happening. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great day. Look after yourselves. Stay healthy. Stay well. Good.